The champagne flute slipped from my hand. It shattered against the marble floor, sending crystal shards spinning under the chandelier light. I didn't even flinch. My eyes were locked on hers, Lauren, my only child. The little girl who used to call me daddy and twirl in dresses I bought on layaway. Now, she was standing in a $15,000 designer gown I had paid for, staring at me like I was an unwanted delivery. Dad, what are you doing here? Her voice soft enough to avoid attention, yet sharp enough to wound cut through the polite clinking of cutlery and the soft hum of a live string quartet. I stood in the entrance of the ballroom holding a silver gift box wrapped with the same care I'd once packed her school lunches. My boots, polished that morning, felt out of place among the designer heels clicking across marble. The chandelier above scattered rainbow light across walls I'd paid 3 months of company profits to rent for this very night. I came to congratulate you. That's all I said, my voice low. Behind Lauren stood Christopher, her new husband, tailored tux. Jaw tight, smile tighter. I'd seen that type before, confident without experience, smooth without substance. Mr. Miller, he began. The condescension already leaking out. There seems to be a misunderstanding. I looked back to Lauren, hoping to find some trace of the child I raised. Her expression didn't change. This is a private family celebration, she said, carefully avoiding my eyes. We agreed it would be immediate family only. Immediate family. Those 2 words landed like bricks. I felt them press against my chest as memories flooded back. 29 years of bedtime, stories, rushed mornings, sick days, school plays, broken curfews, tearful goodbyes at the airport, all replaced in her mind by tailored suits and Instagram perfection. I paid for this wedding, Lauren, I said flatly. Every flower, every plate, every note of that quartet. Christopher stiffened. Money doesn't buy class, sir. Lauren glanced sideways. It's not about the money, it's about fitting in. You don't understand the people here. Oh, I understood plenty. These were the types who never shook the hand of a construction foreman, only signed off on projects their trust funds financed. The same people whose homes I had built, but who never invited me past the foyer. The room had quieted now. Gowns rustled, cufflinks gleamed, conversation stopped, eyes shifted, but I stayed calm. I see, I said, simply placing the gift box gently on the welcome table near a vase of white Ecuadorian roses. I wouldn't want to embarrass you. Dad, please, she whispered, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder. I looked at her carefully, her mother's eyes now colder. Her smile, one I'd once worked overtime to buy braces for, now aimed elsewhere. There was no recognition, no hesitation. You're right, I replied. I don't belong here. And I walked away. The walk to the exit felt like a mile of silence. Whispered words followed me like shadows. Someone laughed, high-pitched and rehearsed. I didn't look back. Outside the late spring, air tasted bitter. The parking lot was full of shiny cars I'd never care to own. My old truck, dusty reliable, sat alone in the corner, right where it belonged. I got in, turned the key, and let the engine idle as the heat left my chest. Then I picked up my phone. 25 years of running Miller Construction had taught me to stay calm under pressure. What I was about to do wasn't rage. It wasn't spite. It was clarity. I scrolled past missed calls from a property developer and stopped at the name First National Business Services. My finger hovered. Inside that ballroom, my daughter was celebrating the beginning of her new life without me. Out here, I was about to start mine without her. I hit call. The phone screen glowed in my palm. First National Business Services. I tapped call. It rang once. First National, Patricia speaking. How may I assist you? This is David Miller. Business account ending in 4512. I need to place stop payments on several transactions effective immediately. There was a pause followed by polite concern. Of course, Mr. Miller. May I verify your identity? I answered the standard questions: mother's maiden name, last deposit amount, my company's founding year. I had answered them 100 times over the past 25 years. Always routine, never like this. Patricia's voice returned. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'm in your file. Can you specify which transactions you'd like to stop? All payments related to the Bennett wedding, I said. Sir. Venue, catering, florist, photographer, musicians, all of them. There was a longer pause now. Keyboard clicks in the background. I see multiple payments, some in 6 figures. These are already authorized. They need to be unauthorized, Patricia. I'm revoking approval. The event is no longer valid in my view. I need asset protection. Now. I understand, sir. For any transaction over 10,000, I'll need verbal confirmation plus one-time codes. I've got them memorized, I replied. And I did. I recited the codes one by one off the top of my head. Not because I'm special, but because I'm careful. Every contract, every expense, every bill, I knew them. When you build a company from the ground up, you remember what it costs to run it. Patricia confirmed. Okay, Mr. Miller, stop payments have been processed. I'll email you confirmation numbers. Thank you. That's all on the banking side. She paused. Is everything all right, sir? It will be, I said. Soon. I hung up. Next, call catering. Elegant Palate of Cleveland. Lauren had insisted on them. They use truffle oil flown in from Umbria, she once said with a grin. I had said yes, like always. A man answered. Elegant Palate, this is Marcus speaking. Marcus, it's David Miller. I'm the payer on the Bennett wedding happening right now. Oh yes, sir. Everything's running beautifully. Guests are loving the charcuterie spread. There's a change, I said, cutting him off. Payment has been revoked. Bank authorization is no longer valid. You need to protect your inventory and equipment immediately. Silence. I'm sorry, sir, we're mid-service. That's unfortunate, I said flatly. But you'll want to speak to the couple if you want payment. It won't come from me. Are you saying you've canceled everything? That's exactly what I'm saying. Marcus didn't say goodbye. He just hung up. I imagined the flurry in the kitchen. Next florist. Petal and Pine Floral Studio. Lauren's favorite since high school dances. They'd flown in white Phalaenopsis orchids from Ecuador. $10,000 worth. Susan speaking. Susan, it's David Miller Bennett wedding. Oh, Mr. Miller, the venue looks stunning. Your daughter was so happy with the... There's a payment issue. Bank approval has been rescinded. You'll want to recover the arrangements while you still can. A beat of hesitation. Sir, those flowers are integrated into the entire ballroom setup. That's not my concern anymore. Business is business. Move quickly. She exhaled audibly. Understood. One by one, I made the calls. Photographer, your invoice will not clear. Secure your gear. Quartet payment frozen. Do not expect continuation. Lighting and linens vendor, reclaim anything you want to keep. By the time I was done, my call log had 6 new entries, and my dashboard clock read 4:17 p.m. I sat back. Through the windshield, I saw a white florist van pull into the service driveway. Petal and Pine in elegant script. 3 people inside. Susan must have moved fast. From where I sat, I could see through the venue windows. Lauren stood by the grand entrance, laughing, radiant, accepting kisses on the cheek from aunts she barely saw. Her $15,000 gown shimmered in the late afternoon light. Christopher was in the far corner talking business with 2 men in navy suits, probably his father's colleagues. I wondered if they knew the dinner wasn't coming. None of them noticed the florist team heading toward the side entrance. Inside my truck, the engine hummed. I didn't move. I wasn't hiding. I was watching. I had spent 25 years loving a daughter who had dismissed me in 15 seconds. Now I was giving her what she had always taken for granted: consequences. Another van pulled in. Catering. Marcus had wasted no time. He arrived with 3 staff members and no smiles. They didn't use the back door this time. They went in the front, quiet but direct. This was happening. Lauren's fairy tale was still in progress. But the next chapter, it had already begun. Same day, same venue, 23 minutes after I left. From my spot across the parking lot, I watched it begin. It started with the music. The string quartet had been playing softly. Debussy, I think, some delicate arrangement meant to make the guests feel refined. But then, silence. Not abrupt, just missing, like someone had pulled the mood out of the room. Guests started glancing around, subtle at first. Then the murmur. I could almost hear it from my truck. Whispered confusion spreading through sequins and tuxedos, a ripple in the champagne. Inside, Lauren's smile started to flicker. She stood by the cake, a 5-tier fondant masterpiece I had approved without hesitation. It was meant to be cut at sunset with sparklers and applause. But there would be no cutting. From the side door, I saw Susan's floral team begin untying arrangements. Quietly, quickly. Vases packed orchids, gathered hydrangeas, lifted with the care of someone reclaiming what's rightfully theirs. Guests began noticing. One woman pointed hand to mouth. Lauren's brows furrowed. I imagined her thoughts. Is this a mistake? Did the florist misunderstand something? She walked toward Susan, whispering sharply. Susan didn't flinch. She simply held up her clipboard and said something short, one sentence, maybe two. Then she walked away, hands full of blooms. Lauren stood frozen. Behind her, the catering staff had begun disassembling the hors d'oeuvres table. No more mini crab cakes. No more imported cheeses. No more anything. Marcus, the caterer, looked calm. He wasn't loud, but he was firm. His team was already stacking trays and wheeling carts back through the front entrance. Christopher saw it next. He was near the back, still deep in conversation with two older men, his father's friends, I guessed. One of them gestured toward the disappearing waitstaff. Christopher turned. His expression changed, not panic, not rage, just cold realization. He walked briskly toward the kitchen. I lost sight of him behind a pillar. Moments later, the band started packing up. The drummer collapsed his stand. The bassist rolled cables. Their leader, a woman in all black, spoke briefly with the event planner. I recognized the planner. Jennifer, I think. She had been effusive during walkthroughs. This will be the most elegant wedding Cleveland has seen this year, she'd said. She didn't look so confident now. She was on her phone, pacing, eyes darting between vendors and guests. Then the lights changed. Not off, but dimmed. Someone had cut the uplighting, the amber wash that made everything glow. Without it, the room looked stark, less magical, more exposed. Guests began whispering louder. Phones came out. And finally, my ex-wife appeared. I hadn't seen Bethany since the rehearsal dinner. She moved like a woman who'd had just enough champagne to be bold. Her gown shimmered, her heels clicked fast across the marble. She found Lauren near the now barren cake table. What the hell is going on? I read her lips through the window. Lauren didn't respond. She was staring at her phone, eyes wide. I could guess what she saw. The bank notifications. Declined. 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 I had set them to ping her in real time. Bethany grabbed her daughter's wrist. Christopher returned from the kitchen. A triad of panic now forming center stage. The trio stood there, Lauren in shock, Bethany fuming, Christopher silent. Then came the moment. Lauren's voice rose, just enough for the guests nearby to hear. What do you mean he pulled the payments? He said nothing to me. This is sabotage. Bethany hissed something back, probably telling her to lower her voice. But it was too late. Guests had stopped pretending. They were watching, phones still out. A few had begun filming. Christopher stepped forward, trying to calm them both. That was when Susan's team walked by again, each with two vases in hand. The optics were devastating. Bethany finally spotted the floral van outside. Then she looked beyond it and saw me. Our eyes met through the tinted glass. She didn't react, just stared. No wave, no scowl. Just realization. Lauren never turned. She was too busy trying to salvage her image. I saw her lift her phone to her ear. Calling me. It rang in my cup holder. I didn't answer. Another call came. Then a text. What are you doing? This is my wedding. Fix it now. I read it. Locked the screen. Let the silence speak for me. More guests began to leave. Slow trickle at first, then a steady stream. Purses clutched, jackets grabbed, Uber apps opened. The dream had become an exit line. At some point, I started the truck. The engine's hum grounded me, reminded me I was still in control, that I had chosen quiet over rage, precision over spectacle. I didn't ruin the wedding. They did. I just stopped pretending. One by one, the pieces they'd borrowed from my life, the money, the name, the presents were returned. By nightfall, the venue was nearly empty. Only a few stragglers remained. And the cake, still uncut. The next morning, I woke to 36 missed calls. 9 from Lauren. 12 from Bethany. 4 from Christopher. And the rest, cousins, in-laws, a few numbers I didn't recognize. My phone vibrated again in my hand as I stared at the lock screen. Dad, please, call me. That one came in at 2:47 a.m. The next at 5:21. You've made your point. Now please fix it. No greeting, no apology, no acknowledgement of the choices that had led us here. just a demand disguised as a plea. I didn't respond, not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood that silence is a complete sentence. Downstairs, I made coffee. The house was quiet. Sunday morning stillness. My mind wandered to the guests. How did they explain it? To themselves, to each other. I imagined whispers at brunch tables, theories, blame. Some would say the florist got the date wrong. Others might think a power outage killed the lights. A few would suspect divorce drama. But I knew what really happened. Truth entered a room built on illusion and the foundation cracked. Around 9 a.m., my neighbor Bill knocked. He held his phone like it was radioactive. "You see this?" I took the phone. A local news blog had picked it up. Chaos at Bennett wedding vendors walk out mid-reception. The article was vague, but comments weren't. Groom's family stiffed the vendors. Bride's dad sabotaged the wedding, yikes. Someone's not getting a thank you card this year. I handed the phone back. Bill didn't ask questions, just nodded and left. By noon, the family group chat had turned into a circus. Bethany posted a long paragraph. "We deeply regret the miscommunication that disrupted our celebration. The matter is being resolved privately. Please respect Lauren and Christopher's privacy as they navigate this difficult moment." One cousin replied with a thumbs up. Another sent a gif of a dumpster fire. Lauren tried calling again. I declined it. She texted right after. "I know you're mad, but you blindsided me. You ruined everything. People think I'm broke." I didn't engage. An hour later, another message came. "Why would you embarrass me like that? You could have just said no. You didn't have to make it public." I read it twice, then typed a single line and hit send. "I did say no. You just didn't listen." She didn't reply after that. Instead, she posted a filtered black and white photo of her and Christopher from the ceremony, captioned, "Through storms we rise." No tags, no thanks. Just performance. I spent that afternoon going through my desk drawer. Old receipts, contracts, school tuition statements. 12 years of private school, 4 years at Boston University, summers abroad, that dress, that cake. All of it paid for by the man she now calls an embarrassment. I put the files in order neatly labeled. Not for revenge. For record. By evening, messages from extended family began to shift. First came Kia check-ins. "Hey, just wondering if you're okay. Heard things got tense. I'm so sorry." Then came the side-taking. "Honestly, I don't blame you. That girl needed a reality check. If they disrespected you like that, I'd have walked too. I'd love to hear your side if you ever feel like sharing." I didn't reply to most of them, but I saved them. Around 9:30 p.m., a final email arrived. Subject line, "Request for reconciliation." From Bethany Miller. Tone polite, rehearsed. "David, I understand you're upset, but you've made your point. Lauren is devastated. This should have been a joyful moment for all of us. Let's find a way to heal and move forward for our daughter's sake." I stared at it. No apology. No admission. Just spin. I closed the laptop. Walked outside. The air was cool, September biting into the trees. I stood on the porch and watched the dark. I didn't need anyone to validate my decision. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not proud, not smug. Just untethered. Tomorrow I would visit my lawyer, not for revenge, but to establish boundaries. Because if they wanted a transactional relationship, then that's exactly what they were going to get. 2 days after the wedding, I walked into my attorney's office with a manila folder under my arm. Inside, 29 years of receipts. Patricia Howell had been my legal counsel for years, quiet, ruthless when needed, and completely unshaken by emotion. That morning, she wore navy slacks and a crisp white blouse. Her reading glasses hung around her neck like a weapon. I dropped the folder on the desk and sat down. "This is everything I said. School, college, car, wedding." She raised one brow. "You want to sue your daughter?" "No," I said plainly. "I want a record and a wall." She opened the folder. Her eyes scanned line after line. 12 years at St. Matthew's Academy, 4 at Boston University, 2 study abroad programs, apartment leases, even the $15,000 wedding dress invoice from last month. She flipped through pages without a word. Then she said, "You're not going to get any of this back. You know that." "I'm not trying to. I just want it documented, so the next time someone says I abandoned her, they'll know the truth." Patricia nodded. "All right," she said. "Let's draft something that makes that wall real." The demand letter wasn't vindictive. It was clinical. To Lauren Bennett, formerly Miller. From David Miller. Financial separation and final support accounting. As of September 2024, I have provided financial support totaling approximately $1,120,000, including but not limited to educational costs, living expenses, and wedding funding. This letter serves as notice that no further financial assistance will be provided effective immediately. Should any further public mischaracterizations arise regarding my support, I reserve the right to disclose these figures in full, including documentation to protect my reputation and financial standing. We printed it on letterhead. Signed, dated, filed. On the way out, Patricia asked, "Do you want me to send this to her?" He shook my head. "No, I'll deliver it." She tilted her head. "You sure? I want to look her in the eye when I give it to her." That evening, I sent a short message. "Lauren, I'll be at your apartment tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please be available. It won't take long." She read it. Didn't reply. At 10 a.m. sharp, I knocked. She opened the door wearing sweatpants and mascara smudged from the night before. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of boxed wedding favors, a tipped-over orchid, and an untouched stack of thank-you notes. "Can we not do this right now?" she mumbled. "We're doing this," I said, calmly stepping inside. I didn't sit. I didn't yell. I handed her the envelope. She opened it slowly, eyes scanning each line. Her face flushed, then paled, then stilled. This is cold," she said finally. "No," I replied. "This is clarity. I was upset. You didn't have to blow up my wedding. You humiliated me. I paid for that wedding," I said, in full. "And you told me I wasn't family. That was your choice." She looked at the floor. I was angry. "And now you live with the consequences." For a moment, we stood in silence. Then she muttered, "Christopher doesn't even know you sent this." I raised an eyebrow. Then maybe he should. I turned and walked out. No hug. No forgiveness. Just closure. By the time I got back home, the group chat was buzzing again. Bethany had posted a long message. "David has chosen to escalate things legally. Lauren is devastated. We are asking for space and privacy during this difficult time." I didn't respond, but I screenshotted it. Because when people twist the narrative, it's good to have your own copy. 2 days later, I got a certified letter. From Bethany. It was 4 pages long and dripping with guilt-tripping syrup. "She's your daughter. You raised her. You can't just cut her off like this. You're supposed to protect her even from herself." I folded the letter and put it in the same folder as the receipts. Next to it, I scribbled a sticky note. "Emotional manipulation is not a valid contract." That Friday, I canceled the joint credit card she'd been using for years. She hadn't used it in months, but it was the principle. No more strings. No more quiet withdrawals. On Sunday morning, my mailbox had a pale pink envelope. No return address. Inside, a wedding photo of Lauren and Christopher, printed glossy, posed. On the back, one sentence in her handwriting. "You'll regret choosing pride over love." I turned it over once, then again, then tossed it in the shredder. Because love, when weaponized, is just another way to extract debt. And I wasn't indebted anymore. By October, the mornings had turned crisp in Cleveland. I started waking up earlier, 5:45 instead of 7. No alarm, just habit rewired. Instead of reading news on my phone, I'd make black coffee, grab a jacket, and walk 3 miles before sunrise. A simple thing. But every day I did it, something inside settled. Quiet replaced noise. Distance replaced drama. I joined a local men's group that met Tuesdays at the library. Nothing deep, just 5 or 6 of us sharing coffee and talking about books or fixing up sheds. There was something profoundly human in sitting across from men who'd lost jobs, wives, or sons, and still showed up with stories and sandpapered humor. No one asked about Lauren, and I didn't offer. One Thursday afternoon, I pulled out the file again. The folder with everything: receipts, letters, the shredded wedding photo reprinted for documentation. Not because I wanted to dwell on it. I needed to remind myself it had really happened, that I hadn't imagined the distance, that I hadn't overreacted. I looked at the last page, the demand letter Patricia had helped draft, and I added a postscript. This letter remains in effect. Any future reconciliation will not involve financial entanglement of any kind. Then I closed it for good. In early November, I went to the grocery store and ran into one of Lauren's old high school friends, Mara. She lit up when she saw me. "Mr. Miller. Wow, I haven't seen you since graduation. Lauren told me you were traveling or something." I smiled politely. "Not kite." She tilted her head. "She said you'd kind of disappeared." That one stung. But I didn't correct her, because what Lauren chose to tell others was no longer my burden to carry. Bethany, however, hadn't let up. In late November, I received a Christmas card early. Her handwriting on the front, red ink, decorative, unmistakable. Inside, "This year has brought challenges, but family remains. Consider letting old wounds close before the holidays." I didn't reply. I didn't burn it either. I put it in a drawer with birthday cards from decades ago. Not because it meant anything, but because it reminded me that people often use family as a leash. By December, I realized something strange. I hadn't missed Lauren. Not really. What I missed was the version of her I thought I'd raised, the one who'd text me photos of her first apartment, who used to send me updates from Boston, who cried on the phone the first time Christopher said he might propose. That version, she hadn't existed in a long time. Maybe never. On Christmas Eve, I didn't host dinner. No turkey, no lights, no Bethany in my kitchen telling me how I'd oversalted the potatoes again. Instead, I made a pot of stew and shared it with my neighbor James, who had just lost his wife to cancer. We watched an old Western and didn't talk much. It was the most peaceful Christmas I'd had in years. The next morning, I received a voicemail from Lauren. Her voice was soft, unsure. "Hi. I know it's been a few months. I'm not calling to argue. I just wanted to say, Merry Christmas. That's all." I didn't call back. Not because I was angry, but because that message wasn't really for me. It was for her to say she tried. And maybe that was enough for now. In January, I started drafting a new will. Not out of spite. Out of responsibility. Patricia helped me rewrite it clean. Lauren was no longer listed as beneficiary of my investment accounts. Instead, I earmarked that portion for a scholarship fund for kids from Street Matthews Academy who couldn't afford tuition. I wrote this clause myself. In lieu of direct inheritance, my estate will support futures that carry no pretense of entitlement. For years, I thought I was investing in legacy. Turns out I was just avoiding loneliness with money. But not anymore. One night, while clearing out my garage, I found a box of old home videos. Lauren's 3rd birthday. 5th grade science fair. Senior prom. I didn't cry. I smiled. Then I labeled the box, "Closed Chapters." And I meant it. Some stories don't need new endings. They just need a clean shelf. By February, the calls became more frequent. Not daily, but regular enough to notice. Lauren wasn't angry anymore. Her messages sounded soft, tired. "I just want to talk, Dad. Just lunch. Just once." I'd listen, then delete. Not out of cruelty, but because I'd made peace with the silence. One Monday morning, my phone rang again. Caller ID Bethany White. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message this time. "I understand you're upset, but you're not just cutting Lauren off. You're cutting me off. Family isn't supposed to be transactional, David." The irony nearly made me laugh. This from the woman who once said, "Why bother paying for her car when she won't even invite you to her wedding?" Patricia Howell called later that week to follow up on the revised estate paperwork. "I filed the updates. Everything's clean. You sure you're ready for this chapter to close?" "I was ready before I walked into that rehearsal dinner," I replied. She paused. "Well, there's one loose thread." She forwarded an email. From Bethany. Subject: reconsideration request. I opened it. "David, we all make mistakes. You're acting like this is irreversible. It isn't. Lauren misses you. She regrets that night. You're her only parent. You can't erase that. Please don't make decisions in anger. Let's talk. I'm willing to mediate." At the bottom was her contact signature. Bethany White Senior Planner, Sterling Horizons Events. Still branding herself, even in reconciliation. I didn't reply to the email, but I did something better. I scheduled a final meeting. March 12th, Cleveland, 2:00 p.m. Same neutral law office downtown. I arrived early. Took the same chair I'd used during the estate revision last fall. When Lauren and Bethany walked in, I stood. Lauren looked pale, thinner, not dramatic, just worn. Bethany looked exactly the same. She was always composed. That was her job. No handshakes, no hugs. I nodded at both. Patricia Howell sat across from me and gestured calmly. Let's keep this civil. Bethany spoke first. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I didn't respond. Lauren leaned forward. Dad, I know I hurt you. I was caught up in everything. The wedding, the stress. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I raised a hand. I'm not here for apologies, I said. This isn't about fixing anything. It's about clarity. I pulled a single sheet from my folder. A signed copy of the estate exclusion agreement. I slid it across the table. This is final. You're both free to contest it if you'd like. But my financial ties to this family end here. Bethany opened her mouth, closed it. Lauren whispered, I don't care about the money. Good, I said. Then we're in agreement. Bethany reached for the paper, but Patricia stopped her. It's been notarized, she said. There's nothing to review. The silence that followed was heavy but not awkward. Clean. I stood to leave. Lauren spoke again. Will you ever forgive me? I paused at the door. I already have. I just don't confuse forgiveness with access. Then I left. Outside, the wind off Lake Erie cut through my coat. But I didn't feel cold. For the first time in a year, I felt clean. Some endings don't need slamming doors or screaming matches. Sometimes a quiet room and a signature say everything. Autumn in Cleveland has a particular kind of quiet. The kind where the leaves fall slowly and the air smells like old books and chimney smoke. By October, I had settled into a rhythm. Coffee by 6. A walk by 7. And silence, no messages, no calendar notifications, no plans for brunches or ceremonies. I had my house, my books, my small group of retired neighbors who liked college football and lawn debates about which snowblower actually worked. And most of all, I had peace. One morning while sorting mail, I found a small envelope tucked between a utility bill and a circular. No return address. Inside a photo. Lauren. From her wedding. Standing in front of a floral arch, smiling. No note. No explanation. Just the image. I looked at it for a long time. Not with sadness. Not with anger. Just finality. I didn't tear it up. I didn't frame it either. I slid it into a drawer and closed it. It didn't need to be anything more than it was. That November, I started volunteering at the Carnegie West Branch Library. Nothing fancy, just helping with shelving and tech troubleshooting. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'd walk through those heavy wooden doors and spend 4 hours among paperbacks and quiet people who didn't need anything from me except a working scanner. There was one woman who came in often, older than me, wore reading glasses with a chain, had a sense of humor that was dry and warm all at once. We'd talk sometimes about biographies or how bad the coffee was. We never exchanged last names. That was the kind of peace I liked, uncomplicated, slow. In December, exactly 1 year after the rehearsal dinner, I wrote something down. Not to send. Not for a lawyer. Just for me. I wrote, you can love someone. You can even forgive them. But you don't owe them continued access to your peace. Then I folded the note and taped it inside the cabinet where I kept my coffee mugs. A quiet reminder every morning. On Christmas Day, my house was still. No tree, no guests, no chaos. Just a fire in the hearth and a stack of books. At some point, I looked out the window and saw my neighbor shoveling his drive, and I joined him. We didn't talk about family. We talked about salt brands and rock versus pellet. It was perfect. I never stopped being Lauren's father. But I stopped waiting to be seen as her dad. And that distinction saved me. Life didn't explode with joy after all this. It didn't need to. What it did was stabilize. Return to form. I still get cards. Bethany sends holiday newsletters. They go unopened. Lauren sent a birthday text last May. I replied with, "Thank you. Hope you're well." That was it. Nothing more. No bitterness, no longing, no doors reopened. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting the story end quietly. On your terms. In your season. With your peace intact. I used to think peace came from resolution. That if I could just fix things, mend what was broken, be heard, be understood, then everything would settle. But sometimes resolution never shows up. What you get instead is release. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't make headlines or holiday cards. The kind you choose when no one is watching. Letting go of Lauren wasn't a moment, it was a decision I had to remake daily. To not chase, to not explain, to not replay every what if. And every time I chose quiet over confrontation, I felt just a little more like myself again. Not the man she needed to approve of. Not the father someone else could weaponize. Just me. A man who tried. A man who learned where to stop. If there's anything I've taken away from all this, it's that boundaries are not punishments. They're lifelines. For you. For the version of you that deserves to wake up and not dread what the mailbox holds. Or whether a text message will knock over your whole afternoon. I'm not bitter. I'm not waiting. I'm simply free. And if you're walking a similar road, may you find your version of quiet, and may it be enough.